Hi. So I know for this class, we're going to use a different kind of calculator. So I wanted to do a demo on some tips and tricks regarding this calculator, because at first this calculator is really going to suck. But after using it a while, you'll realize how great it is. I've gotten very used to it as I was prepping for this class. So I wanted to show you some of the things that I've learned. So let me share my screen, because I have now a fancy dock camera to show you things. But here is our TI-30xA calculator. I'll try to move it out of the way so the light isn't completely destroying it. First things first, on and off. I think that's self-explanatory. It's on. This is a battery-powered one that I bought. You could have a solar one. This on button obviously will turn on. If I have random numbers, I can also clear with that same button. If you want to save battery, you can turn it off. Super exciting, super fancy. Let's go ahead and first talk about exponents, since it's really common. And the general idea of this calculator is that you'll always type the number in first and then the operation. So we know that 4 squared is 16. So if I type the number 4, and then I can see right about there that there is this x squared key, basically meaning whatever I type in, I'll then hit that and it will square the number. Very exciting. In regards to order of operations, I can just, if I want to do this equation here, 3 plus 4 squared is 3 plus 16 is 19. I can do 3 plus 4 squared. When I finish the 4 squared, I see that it's 16. And the calculator remembers that you want to add 3. If I click equals, it'll give me 19. If I keep clicking equals, it won't do anything else because it's all I typed in. It won't keep adding 3 or some weird thing like other calculators do. Instead, it'll just stop. This is how you know that you're, excuse me, I have the hiccups. That's how you know that you're done with the operation. Okay, I don't think that's too crazy. Continuing. What if I do something like the square root of 25? Same idea. I can type the number first, and then you can see that there's a square root button right here next to the x we were just looking at. 25, square root, boom, 5. I can do that for any sort of number I want. Square root, very exciting. Okay. Next, back a bit. Still going to use this doc here. Okay. Let's say I want to look at the fraction 1/4. First off, a fraction is division, so I could do 1 divided by 4, and you'll see that it gives me 0.25. That's exactly what it's showing here. Another thing you can do is that if you want to take the reciprocal of something like 4 and then take the reciprocal to make it 1/4, I can type the number. Again, you always type the number first, then the operation, which in this case is 1/x, and it'll flip it around. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Parentheses. So let's talk about parentheses. A lot of times what I do, and we'll talk about this when we get to memory in a few minutes, is that I would do the denominator first. But if you don't want to do the denominator first, what you can do is 7 times 2. And I want to divide by this denominator. And I want to divide by the whole thing. I can't do divided by 4 divided plus, whatever divided by 3. I have to include parentheses. So I'll do divided by. You can see there's 2 sets of parentheses here. So I'll use this to start my parenthesis. You can see right at the top right, you have little parentheses now. 4 plus 3. I am done with my equation in the bottom. I can close the parentheses. That gives me 7. That's what we expect in the denominator. If I click equals, there you go. Because this is 14 divided by 7 gives you 2. If I keep clicking equals, that means that I am done with the operation. Okay. If I wanted to do exponents that were not as easy as just squaring it, like this key was, you can come over to here, where we will type this in the order that we would say it. So 2 to the 3rd power. We'll write 2. We'll click this button, basically putting it into that mode. We'll type the second number, which in this case was 3. We know that 2 cubed is 8. If we click equals, we get 8. So 2, this y to the x button here, 3. That gives us 8. Okay. Moving on. We can now talk about the second command, which is this top left button here. If you click the second command, you'll see that it pops up right there that it says second. Let's see it. Second. hoping you're doing this along with me. If you want to do something like the cube root of 8, you can see that above the y to the x, I think you can see my mouse, above the y to the x right here, we see that you have x with inside of the radical of y. So what I'll do is I'll do 8. Oops, sorry. Let's x out of that. We'll do 8 second. We will now click that button. It knows it's in that mode. We'll do a 3. Click equals, and it gives us 2. That's a cube root of 8. There are some shortcuts. Like if you look down here, there's a cube root button under the second thing. So I can do 8 second that, and it will give me that immediately. But in the case you have a very random exponent, which will be common, you could do 3 again, cube root, I don't know, to the 9th or something weird, and it'll calculate that for you. Okay, let's talk about fractions and decimals. So if I were to, I don't know, write some decimal, let's say do 0.75, and I want to convert that to a fraction for some reason, you can see that down here, there's an F to D command. So if I were to do second F to D, you will see you get a fraction, 3/4. That little L thing is meant to be, backwards L is meant to be a fraction bar. If I want to go back, I can again do second and that button, F to D, and it'll convert it back to a decimal. Okay. What about mixed fractions? So let's say I do 7 divided by 4. We see that that gives us 1.75. If we were to, again, do our second fraction decimal key down here, that will give us 1 3/4. And maybe you don't like dealing with mixed fractions. You can go ahead, you see right above, there is this A, B, C button. If you click that, nothing happens. But if you look at the second command key, it says D over C, which means we're going to end up converting it to an improper fraction. If you click that, if you do second, you can basically switch between the two, back and forth again if you wanted to. If you were to make a mistake, let's say I wanted to write pi, which is 3.14, and I wrote 3.15. There's this little backspace here that you can do to redo your calculation. Of course, pi is on here already on the left side here that you can leverage. But just as a heads up, if you are typing numbers, and in this class, we will type a lot of numbers in this calculator, and you realize, oh, that shouldn't be a 6. That should be an 8. You can go ahead and backspace. You don't lose all your work. Next up, exponentials. So you see here that I have a natural log and an e to the x. Again, we'll type the number first. So if I do 2, and I want to do e squared, I will then do second. Again, second because we're looking at the text above the button. That gives me e squared. If I were to do 1 and you want to access e, you do e to the 1. That's our value of e that we're familiar with. Similarly, the opposite of an exponential is a natural log, which has a base of e. If I were to type, let's say 1, and then click natural log, that will give me the natural log of 1, which we know is 0. Very exciting. Okay. Next are degrees and radians. So right now you see that I am in degree mode. See if we can see this. Yeah, you can see degree here. If you want to switch modes, there is this button here, DRG. So you go degree to radian to G, which I think is gradient. I'm not quite sure what that is. But we're not going to use it, so I don't care. But you can see the DRG switches between these three. If I were to type 90 degrees and type the sign of that number, we will get 1. If I switch to radians, and I do pi divided by 2, and take the sign of that number, we see that that is also 1. We'll do it over here because the light might have screwed up. Pi divided by 2. Sine of pi over 2 we know is 1. If I do sine of that, we get 1. So we'll type in our number, then our trig function. If you want to do arc trig functions or inverse trig functions, again, those are the second commands that you can see there. Nothing super insane. The one thing, though, that I think is very useful is the idea of storing numbers. And the way that we'll store numbers is by, let's say I type some number and I want to save that number. I can click STO, which will then put into the command that we're going to store it somewhere. I'll do STO1. And as soon as I do that, you see that M1 pops up, which means that I have some number in memory. I can turn it off, I can turn it back on, whatever, and that number's still there. If I wanted to recall it and see that number again, I'll click recall 1, and there it is. There's the number that I just saved. And this could be very useful when doing some calculation. Let's go ahead and show an example of that. Where's my blank piece of paper? Okay. So let's go ahead and do this together. I will go ahead and I'll explain how to clear this in a second. But for now, I'm just going to clear it before you get confused. Let's just talk about storing and recalling. So in this case, I say that x is equal to 4 times 3 plus the square root of 7. So I'll say that 4 times 3, okay, that's 12, plus, how do we do the square root of 7? We type the 7 first, and then the square root button. That's the square root of 7. We click enter. That is our number 14.64. By clicking equals, we see that we are done. There's no more algebra to do. And let's say that that is our value of x. And I want to store that in 1. And sometimes when I'm doing these problems, I'll even put in parentheses or something on the side or circle it so that I'm aware that I'm storing this in the first spot in memory. So what I'll do is I'll click store, STO, 1. And now that I have that number there, you can see if I recall it, it is there. Okay? Let's say I want to calculate y. And y is going to be 3 plus that value of x, which I will recall from 1. 3 plus that should be 17 point whatever. That's a 17. And we will divide by recall 1. And we have our value of y now. Again, these are just arbitrary problems I made up. I said that I want to store this in spot 2. So we can see if I do recall 1, there's my 14.658. If I do recall 2, there's my 1.2 number. I didn't write it down here, but that's what we just got from doing this algebra. Okay. And the last operation we'll do is we'll say that it's x over y. And I'll say, okay, x, I have that stored in 1. So I'll recall 1 divided by y, which is recall 2. And now I have that z. Maybe I want to store it in 3 for some reason. I'll use it for a later date. And now I have all 3 of these things saved. Those are the only 3 memory spots that I have on the calculator. If you try to store something in 4, it won't work. These are the only 3. Okay. Last thing, how do we clear and overwrite these things? So there is a way based on, well, there is a way I don't really understand how to do, but the way that I've been doing it is I will just store 0 in those spots. And the calculator recognizes that we do not care about that number anymore. So I have a 0 here right now. If I do store 1, you see that M1 disappeared. If I do recall 2, recall 3, those are still there. If I do recall 1, that number I erase just by storing 0 in those spots. Let's say I do store 2, store 3, and now my calculator is empty. I am done with it. Those are the things that we will most likely use all the time in this class. I do not think that there's anything else on here that we care about. There might be some things you might want to invest in learning that I haven't learned yet. Oh, there is a factorial button, which is pretty useful if I do 6 factorial. So I'll just write that out for completeness, but I forgot about it. Let's say I do 6 factorial, which again is 6 by 5 by 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, you can type that whole thing out. And if we do that times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, we get 720. But if you do 6, you can see that there's a factorial command above this 3 here. You do second, hit the factorial key, and you'll get 720. That's something useful. There's some percentage sign. You can convert between decimals and percentages. There's nothing else here that I really want to discuss. I hope that this helps. If you have questions, please let me know. There's also a lot of videos and stuff online that you can look at for how this calculator works. But hopefully this was helpful before we begin this class. Okay, thank you.